Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for the Mexico Grand Prix preview. I'll be speaking a little bit today about the track characteristics, the weather forecast for this race weekend, as well as who should be competitive around this circuit. The second of the American tripleheader sees Formula One travel south, where the Mexican Grand Prix will be held in its capital city. The first noteworthy aspect of the Mexican track is its location, which is 2,200 meters above sea level, which makes this event uniquely demanding. Despite the two long straights, we're used to seeing cars with medium and high downforce settings to counteract the thin air. Furthermore, the engines are under great stress. In recent years, certain power units, such as Honda's, have excelled in these conditions though. Others, including Ferrari, have struggled more at high turbo speeds. The track is very power limited. The needs for teams to use high load rear wings means the engines play a bigger role in pushing the cars on the main straights. In this regard, top speeds could be different from what we've seen this year. Formula One's traditional format returns this weekend, giving engineers 3 practice sessions to optimize their car setup for the qualifying and the race. McLaren has finally overtaken Aston Martin in the standings after a long run that began in Austria, while the fight for second place is getting closer and closer, despite the potential shown by the Mercedes W14. As we've seen often since the summer break, McLaren and Mercedes are the main contenders, directly behind Red Bull. Last week, the data analysis showed that Lewis Hamilton was even faster than Max Verstappen. The Mexican Grand Prix will provide answers on how much of Mercedes' performance came from its ground clearance. Mexico also offers a different test for Mercedes and its newly updated W14. According to what was gathered by Formula Uno, Red Bull and McLaren travelled with more conservative setups, precisely to limit wear on the plank. The MCL60 was the usual 2 or 3 tenths slower than the RB19 on race day though. This weekend, however, the intrinsic drag of the Papaya car will be less evident, and this could be an advantage to Norris and Piastri. Ferrari arrives from a less than brilliant weekend in terms of the SF23's performance. They were 4th fastest in Texas and Losail after an excellent spell of races. Barring any major twists in the remaining races, Fred Vasseur's team should maintain 3rd place in the Constructors' Championship. It will be more important though to be able to maximise their performance from their car this weekend. This is something that Ferrari has done well at certain points. Despite struggling to find the consistency of Red Bull, McLaren and Mercedes, the Mexican circuit is rear limited with many slow corners and important straights. All these characteristics suit the Maranello car, but the altitude will also play a role in the choice of setup. In terms of the track layout, 3 sectors divide the circuit quite well. Sector 1 includes the 2 long straights where efficiency with DRS will count. The second sector will start with a very low section and then speeds up in the snake. It is crucial for drivers to use the curbs to optimize lap time correctly. The last sector is the most technical one, with speeds reaching lows of 65 km an hour. Unlike 2022 when the intermediate range of compounds was brought, Pirelli chose to use the softer compounds this weekend of the C3, the C4 and the C5. The grip produced by the asphalt is significantly lower than average. Given that the roughness is among the lowest in the entire calendar, this should, according to Pirelli, favour greater diversity between strategies. Furthermore, on Friday, each driver will be given 2 sets of prototypes of a new C4 compound to use as they wish. Once the data has been analysed, we will decide whether to approve this version for use in 2024, said a Pirelli spokesperson. During the race, graining is a fairly frequent phenomenon on this track. This is partly because the tyres are subjected to greater slipping, as well as because they go over the curbs a lot, which of course cause greater graining. A hurricane heading towards Mexico creates some questions about the weather forecast for the Mexican Grand Prix. But the conditions for the race weekend look relatively pleasant. Dry, sunny and warm, but there is a little bit of wind that drivers may have to manage around the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. There's some rain on the forecast overnight from Thursday to Friday, but it should dry up in time for the first free practice session, which starts at 12:30 track time, which it is then predicted to be 21 degrees Celsius. There's an 8% chance of rain during this period, and it is forecast to be partly cloudy. Looking towards the second practice session, it looks like the rain chance increases to about 12%, with the wind speed remaining fairly consistent. The same forecast is predicted on Saturday and Sunday. Perhaps it will be slightly warmer due to the increased amount of sunshine, but the wind speed is predicted to remain consistent, around 8 to 9 miles an hour. So glad to hear that we shouldn't be interrupted by rain or that hurricane that is around the area in Mexico, but it should provide some great racing without the weather interfering at all this race weekend. This weekend also gives an opportunity for Mercedes and Aston Martin to look at their upgrades that they brought in Austin and get a better understanding of whether they are working to the best of their advantage or whether they can make slight changes for next season to be able to find more gains in terms of their setup. Hopefully this will allow them to get a little bit closer to the top teams of Red Bull and McLaren this race weekend. It should certainly be quite competitive, and we're hoping that we could get a four-way battle for P1 in qualifying on Saturday. We're certainly looking forward to it. Do be sure to join us for all of our coverage here on Forever Motorsports. Thank you very much for watching this video. Do be sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. I've been Reece here on Forever Motorsports. Cheers.